it's Vanessa the Crafty Gemini, and I'm back with the fourth and final video in the Jalie Nico Raglan sew along. All we have left to do is to hem our shirt. So let me show you how to hem the sleeves and the bottom edge of your t-shirt. All right, so now let's hem. I have the shirt turned wrong side out, and if you added length to your shirt, the hem here, the hem allowance is going to vary. So it's up to you to decide, how much you want to turn it under by. I'm going to go with about 3/4 of an inch. Since I did add some length to my husband's shirt, I know that this works fine for him. And so I'm just turning it under towards the wrong side, which is this side. I have it wrong sides facing up. And I'm just going to press it, steam it, and set it in place with the clapper. And just do little chunks at a time and work your way around. If you're not very good at eyeballing it and you feel like you need something, you can use a hem guide or a gauge, whatever you need to make sure that you're turning it under a nice even amount all the way around the shirt. All right, so I turned my hems under 3/4 of an inch, and I did that for the bottom hem. I'm going to repeat the same steps for the sleeves, and then we'll head over to the sewing machine so that we can stitch all these hems in place. Now for the hems, I do recommend that you use either a zigzag stitch, a triple straight stitch, or a cover stitch machine in those areas specifically. You don't want to still use a straight stitch, okay? Unless it's one that can withstand the stretch, like a triple straight stitch. Now for the sleeve, I find just putting my hands on the underarm seam here and one here and flipping the whole thing back onto itself. My steam iron's getting ready to work here. And just by folding it back towards the wrong side here, I can pretty much eyeball it so it's nice and consistent with the 3/4 inch that I need all at once instead of doing little increments at a time. So once I feel like I have it set there and that looks like a good 3/4 of an inch all the way around, I just set it and steam it and press it with the clapper in place. And that goes through to both sides. So that hem is nice and secured in place there. Let's do the other side and then we'll stitch them up. Now, even though we set those hems in place with the wrong sides of the shirt facing out, I only stitch when I do the top stitching of my hems from the pretty side. So make sure that you feed it through the machine with the pretty side facing up towards you so you know what you're measuring your guide against, so you have your stitching be a nice even distance up from that bottom edge. All right, so we're gonna start off by hemming the bottom of the shirt because I currently have gray thread in here, so it will blend in nicely. That's what you wanna get, unless you're going for a more contrasting thread look. I'm not. So for the bottom here, you can feel with your finger through the top layer to feel where that turned under hem ends, okay? If you did a consistent job of turning under your hem, then you know, okay, if this ends at 3/4 of an inch, let's go a little bit shorter than that for the stitching, as far as setting up our guide here. So you don't want to be too far up in the hem that you're stitching through only one layer, and you don't want to be too far down here that's going to cause the bulk of the hem to pop out because it's not mostly secured. So the idea is you want to get close to where that second layer meets, right? The first layer. So not far up past it till you're only going through one layer, but try to catch it closer to the top edge so everything stays secure. So I typically will start on a side seam here. And I'm going to go ahead and use a zigzag stitch on my machine for this hem. I'm going to do a stitch length of about 2.4. And then the stitch width, let's do it at 4 millimeters. And you can play around with that on scrap fabric. I'm using about a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance here. And just follow your guide so you get a consistent hem. Looks good. And notice that I'm stitching from the pretty side of the shirt. I always do my top stitching. Any stitching that will show on the exterior, right, what the people are seeing of the garment, I always top stitch from that side. Now I've come around to the beginning. I just go over my stitches by a couple. You can even do just one back stitch is plenty. And we cut our threads there. I would take this over to the ironing board and give it a nice good steam press, but you can see, you can barely see the stitches. It blends in nicely because I'm using a light colored gray thread. And then on the back side, I've cut most of the hem underneath, okay? All right, so now let me switch out my thread to a darker green color so we can hem the sleeves. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the same stitch or zigzag stitch settings that I used for the hem for the sleeves. Again, making sure I'm lining everything up from the pretty side of my t-shirt. And there's my guide. I'm gonna use the same distance in. And here you'll have to work in smaller increments because you have a smaller circumference. For tight circumference areas like this, you can either remove the free arm from your machine completely, or you can stitch from the inside like I'm showing you here. Especially for those of you that have sewing machines that are set into a table that you can't like expose the free arm, then this option works great. All right, and one more sleeve to go. All right, let's cut any threads. You'll see that I kept the light gray thread that I was using when I hemmed the bottom of the shirt in the bobbin. So I didn't change out the bobbin. And that's just because my machine is good about tension settings, but you may not be able to get away with that on yours. So just be mindful of that. Try it out on a scrap piece. And if you need to change the bobbin thread color to match the top because of your tension settings, then feel free to do that. But you can see how you see the zigzags on that side, but from the pretty side of the fabric, you won't see the gray. It just shows up as the dark green. All right, let's flip this whole shirt pretty side out and give it a nice press. All right, and here you have the finished Nico Raglan. I hope you enjoyed following along with this sew along. Remember that we used the Jalie Nico Raglan t-shirt pattern to make it. We carry the pattern in our online shop. It includes this project with 3 different sleeve lengths. Remember, we made the short sleeve here, but you can also make a 3/4 sleeve or a long sleeve shirt. And it includes 27 sizes. The link is in the description box below. You can head over to my online shop to purchase the pattern, as well as the ballpoint pins that I used and the cotton spandex fabric that I used to create this project. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit it with a thumbs up below, share it across the different social media sites and with your crafty friends. And thanks again for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video.